hazard perception, and we're going to talk a little bit about vehicle maintenance as well. So be sure to tune in here, ask all your questions about passing a road test and being successful on passing a road test first time, because that's at Smart Drive Test all about here. And if you're watching on the replay, consider giving it a thumbs up, consider leaving a comment, and find the information valuable here in terms of getting information about passing a road test. Be sure to subscribe as well. So you'll probably notice that the video stream quality probably isn't as high as it normally is. The first thing is that the new iMac that I picked up in the fall died. Sent it into the shop, and this was the third time, and I called Mac and I said, back. So I'm working on my old laptop. That's what I'm doing. So the video stream may not be quite as high quality, but anyway. Yeah, video and audio is choppy. That's not surprising, Corey. And it probably is going to be because, like I said, I'm working on my old laptop, so it's got nothing to do with your. All right, okay. New work week for Michael. Penny's here. Kelsey's here. Yes, Kelsey. Passing a road test. 4 major components of a road test: observation, communication, speed management, and space management. Regardless of class of license, regardless of test, or regardless of where it is in the world, all road tests have the 4 same basic components. So speed management, flow of traffic, posted speed limit, or the capability of the vehicle, whichever is less. If you're driving a passenger vehicle, the capability of the vehicle is not going to be a big deal. But if you're driving a bigger vehicle, you're going up a hill, it's not going to be able to go the speed that it needs to go. Okay, space management, don't get near anything, don't get near other road users, stop behind traffic so that you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you making clear contact with the pavement, correct stopping position before the stop line, before the crosswalk line where the 2 roads meet. The stop signs do not have any significance on where you stop the vehicle, yield signs, those types of things. So make sure that you have good space management. And then communicate with other traffic via your lights, horn, signals, appropriate hand gestures. Don't tell other drivers you're number 1, and eye contact and position of your vehicle on the roadway all communicate to other drivers what you're doing. So and last one is communication, observation. So you have your scanning patterns in place, looking far down the road, and I'm distracted here. Communication, observation. That's what we're talking about. So sorry, observation. Looking far down the road, having your scanning patterns in place, shoulder checking twice for every time you move the vehicle laterally and anytime you have turns, and as well doing 360-degree scans when you're backing up the vehicle. Make sure you look out the back window. Okay. Beatriz is here. Liam, what is your preferred side mirror adjustment for passenger cars? Okay, so Liam, what you want to do for your vehicle is, Corey will get the video for you here on 8 steps on setting up your vehicle for first drivers, and that'll show you how to adjust your mirrors. Hagen Troll, thank you so much for the super chat there. Really great. You have a video on how to merge on the highway. Yes, actually, Hagen Troll, we can do much better than just a video. We have a whole playlist on this one because this is a question that we get a lot in terms of how to merge onto a highway or onto a freeway. So there's a playlist there. Corey will find that for you and get that up for you. Now, just quick overview. When you merge onto a highway or freeway, there's the on-ramp and then there's the acceleration lane. And as you're coming out on the on-ramp, make sure you're shoulder checking, you're checking the traffic, you're picking your gap, and that way you can determine the speed that you need to have on your vehicle so you can meet that gap. And if there are big trucks or other large vehicles on that inside lane, you want to adjust your gap. And sometimes you may have to get out on that ramp. Sorry, I didn't mean to clap my hands because I know that's really loud. Get your foot into it, like right on the floor, and get that vehicle up to speed. There's no reason on most on-ramps with a passenger vehicle that you can't get that vehicle up to speed. So get your foot into it and meet that gap and get in there, okay? Rahinda, good evening. I passed my driving test for the 2nd time. I appreciate great videos. Thank you so much. That is really great news, really great news. So just one sec here. So Hagen, if you have any other questions about that after you watch the playlist, by all means, leave me a comment. Send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest, and I'll be more than happy to help you out with that and get you going on that. My randoms. Hey, passed my road test 2 weeks ago because of your videos. Just wanted to stop and say thanks. My randoms, thank you so much for that. That's really great. I appreciate you stopping by and letting us know that you passed your road test. That's really great. Excuse me. So Hagen Troll, there's your playlist for the merging videos. Penny's here. Hi Penny, how are you? Jaren, good timing to attend the test. Excellent. If you have any questions at all, Jaren, be more than happy to help you out with those. How close class 6 or motorcycle road tests work? Okay. Danny, so motorcycle road test. Most of the information that you need to be successful on a motorcycle road test are all of the information for a passenger vehicle apply to motorcycles. There is some slightly different information, Danny, in terms of where you need to position your vehicle for lane positioning, and this is for the purposes of visibility and you communicating to other traffic where you are and staying safe on the road and those types of things. There are some other things that you need to be able to do, counter steering and those types of things, and you need to be able to park the vehicle. And if you have any specific questions, Danny, there, by all means, drop us a note. We'll be more than happy to help you out and whatnot. Which time is suitable for practicing multi-lanes? Jaren, what are you looking for in terms of multi-lanes? What kind of information are you looking for there? Are you looking to change lanes on multi-lanes? Are you trying to merge out onto the roadway or those types of things? Just let me know down in the comments there. Okay, there you go. So Liam, 8 steps to adjust controls of the vehicle. That'll show you how to set up the wing mirrors and the center mirror in the vehicle. And I know, Liam, there are other ideas and thinking about how to set up the mirrors in the vehicle. The SAE, the Society for Automotive Engineers, has a different method. I do not recommend that method for new drivers. It gives you a false sense that there aren't any blind areas around your vehicle, when in fact there are huge blind areas around your vehicle. And maybe Corey can get that video up for us as well on the blind areas or blind spots around your vehicle, and you need to be conscious of those blind areas and put in scanning patterns and driving techniques that will compensate for those large blind areas around the vehicle. Know that as well. All right, Roblox, hi there, how are you? Okay. Yeah, there you go. Liam, that's good advice. Yes, the morning for a road test is usually better. Okay, there we go. And other videos, excellent. All right, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about hazard perception. I had kind of a revelation the other morning when I was walking the kids to school, and one of the other things that I wanted to say about hazard perception is that some live streams ago, some weeks ago, actually I think it was some months ago now, we were talking about a video on Cameo Facile, and for those of you who don't know, that's my competitor. Cameo Facile is French for easy driving. It's another YouTube channel here, and he does teaching on how to drive and how to pass road tests. And Cameo Facile was doing a video on how to do left-hand turns, and that new drivers don't see what they need to see in order to execute a maneuver when they're learning how to drive a vehicle. And I disagreed with that. I disagreed with that because I think that new drivers, in fact, are seeing what they need to see in terms of being able to maneuver the vehicle and drive the vehicle and those types of things. What's happening with new drivers is they're not able to process the information that they need to successfully pilot a vehicle, and the reason for that is because they don't understand hazards. Hazards are something that needs to be we learn through experience, and only through experience do we learn that hazards are dangerous to us and potentially could be dangerous, and that we need to put techniques and safeguards in place that will keep us safe on the roadway. And so we talked about that at that point. And one of the things that I came up with last week when I was walking my kids to school, we were coming across the crosswalk. And here in British Columbia, it's a little bit weird because you don't stick your hand out or anything like that. You just kind of stand at the side of the road. There are signs in place and there's hash marks on the roadway. And traffic is to stop. Well, we stopped and waited. And the traffic coming from the top of the hill was slowing down and stopping for us. But the one vehicle from the left blew right through the crosswalk. And we hadn't stepped out at that point, which is good. But what I realized, or one of the revelations that I had, and you know, other people can sort of make a contribution to this conversation as well. And if you're watching on the replay, by all means, please make a conversation or make a contribution to how we understand and how we learn hazard perception. And so what I learned was, or what I thought was, is that a lot of drivers, especially new drivers and maybe older drivers, are not paying attention to what other vehicles on the roadway are doing and what other road users are doing. Because myself, as I would be driving down the road, I would be looking down the road at the other traffic on the other side of the road and say, hey, wait a minute, that other traffic's coming to a stop. And because that other traffic is coming to a stop, I'm asking myself in my head as a driver, why is that other traffic coming to a stop? And then I'm going to figure out why that other traffic is coming to a stop. So if this is one of the things that you're having problems with, this is one of the things that you need to do is that when you're scanning and you're looking farther down the road and you're getting the big picture is looking at the other traffic and determining what the other traffic is doing. And because the other traffic is reacting in a certain way, you need to figure out why that traffic is reacting in a certain way, and then you need to react accordingly or put techniques and skills in place that are going to keep you safe while you're driving. Okay, so catch up with some questions here. Tessa from Victoria, I'm testing for my end tomorrow. Could your videos have been helpful? Do you have any advice how I can feel more confident while driving? Yes, Tessa, remind yourself and say to yourself while you're driving, I am a good driver. I am a safe driver. And if you repeat that mantra over and over again in your head while you're driving, it's going to make you feel more confident while you're driving. And also know, Tessa, that nerves are part of a driving test, that you're going to be nervous, okay? It's just a matter of controlling your breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, all the way to your navel. Just know that you just need to keep going until the examiner, he or she, tells you not to stop, right? If they don't tell you to stop, just keep going until you finish the test, okay? Jaron, okay, thanks for clarifying that, Jaron. Usually, you know, middle of the week, in the morning, I would say are better times to do your road test. You know, sometimes it's just an unlucky draw on who the examiner is and, you know, what happened on their day, whether it's going to be good or bad. But for the most part, it's going to be pretty good. Okay, Northeast Ohio cyclist. Hi there. Don't like his videos. They're in Quebec, so they're not very good for people in the States. Northeast, I'm not in Quebec at all. I'm in British Columbia, Canada, and I have driven in the United States extensively through all the states, and all of my videos are more or less good general information for those in the States, okay? So, Jaron, tell me about changing lanes and multi-lane change. Okay, so Jaron, one of the things that I recommend to people who are changing lanes on multi-lane roadways and you're going to move, say you're going to move all the way from the extreme right all the way to the extreme left. And what I say to students is put your signal on, shoulder check, 3 flashes on the signal, shoulder check again, and then start to move if the way is clear. Locate where you're going to change lanes to. Leave your signal on the whole time that you're moving over. Pause in the center lane. Shoulder check again. Shoulder check twice. Minimum 3 flashes on the signal. Then move over to the other lane. And that's how you move across multiple lanes of traffic. Okay. And I'm not understanding, Jaron, what you want to know at intersections. Okay. Ubai, I want to know how to merge onto a highway via a ramp while driving an 18-wheeler. It's a pretty long vehicle, so merging is risky. Gangadeep, what I suggest to you is get out on the ramp, get onto the acceleration lane, and just put your signal on, put your left signal on, and then just get as many gears as you can and get the thing up to speed as much as you can. Other traffic know that you're out there. The size of your vehicle is huge. The fact that you're on the on-ramp and that you're on the acceleration lane tells other traffic that you're going to merge out onto the roadway, and your job is to concentrate on getting as much speed up as possible and stay on the ramp, the acceleration ramp, right to the end of the ramp with the larger vehicle. And if you're really heavy and you know you're heavy and you know you're not going to get much speed before you merge out onto the highway, put your 4-way flashers on to indicate to other traffic that you're not going to get the vehicle up to speed before you merge out onto the roadway. JFSA, the professional driver mentality, scanning so thoroughly in advance that you know what drivers will do before they know what they do. Yes, there you go. Oh, Northeast, I'm sorry, my apologies. Yes, I'm not even sure if Cameo Facile is in Quebec, because he does videos in 2 or 3 languages. I think, does anybody else know whether Cameo Facile is in Quebec? I'm not sure whether he is or not. Thanks for clarifying that, Northeast. I didn't. There we go. Okay, sorry. my apologies, Northeast. I misinterpreted that completely. Okay, Bobby Ben, what's the eyesight requirement for in order to drive? Bobby Ben, I think the minimum eyesight requirement before you have to have a test, I think it's 50/20. Don't quote me on that. I think if you go on whatever authority you have, wherever you are in the world, go on the authority. So if you're in one of the states, go on the DMV website, or here in British Columbia, ICBC, and look at what the requirements are for driving there. There we go. Okay, Liam, 99% sure it's the Montreal area. Conduit Facile. There we go. So that's my competitor. There we go. Oh, thanks, Northeast. Great. No, my apologies. There we go. Okay, Boston. How do you respond with someone slowing down or coming to a stop in front of you as you merge onto the highway? It happened to me the other day. Yeah, Boston, really, there isn't much you can do about that if somebody else is slowing down and stopping in front of you. And unfortunately, it does happen every now and again, and there isn't anything you can do about it. What you need to do is just keep your space behind them, try and slow down, let them get ahead of you, and then you can get up to speed and do your merge safely as you normally would, okay? So if anybody else has any questions. So back to hazard perception. And where was that comment? Where did that go? JFSA 380. Yes, professional driver mentality. Exactly. It's about scanning thoroughly in advance and then interpreting traffic patterns in such a way that you can deduce what other drivers on the roadway or other road users are going to do on the roadway before you get there. So in advance. And here's another example of that. A few days ago, I was walking somewhere and I was coming, and it was down kind of around a right-hand corner, and I went around the corner, and back from the intersection was a crosswalk, and I was following these two women, and kind of the way they were walking, they kind of slowed down a little bit. They were kind of waffling a little bit, and then I realized, oh, they're going to go across the street. And sure enough, they got up to the crosswalk and they activated the crosswalk light. But it was because I was paying attention to their body movement and what they were doing that I could determine what they were doing. And again, when it comes back to hazard perception, if you pay attention to what other traffic is doing on the roadway, if other traffic is slowing down or they're not assertive in terms of the movements or the speed that the vehicle is traveling, know that something's going to happen. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, but you know that they're going to do something that's unpredictable or potentially could change the course of their actions. So yeah, that's so think about what other traffic is doing, and when what JFSA 380 says, get the big picture. Look at the sidewalks. Look at what pedestrians are doing. If you're coming up to a crosswalk, what are the pedestrians doing? Are they slowing down? Are they stopping? Are they going to cross the roadway? Is other traffic going to come to a stop? And another piece in this hazard perception thing is years and years ago when I was training in London, Ontario, I had a student who, we went down the freeway and then we got off on an off ramp, we went across and we came back the other way. But while we were going down the road, say in an eastbound direction, there was construction on the other side of the road and the traffic was backed up. And I noticed this when we were going down, and the driver didn't notice this, and we came back and westbound, and then he screamed up on the traffic that was stopped and slammed on the brakes instead of making a nice gentle stop and predicting what was going on. Because when he was heading eastbound, he didn't take note of the fact that the traffic on the other side of the road had been backed up because of construction. And this is important because if you're driving on a highway or an interstate or a freeway or a motorway or wherever else you are in the world, and there are emergency vehicles on the other side of the interstate or motorway, know that your traffic is probably going to slow down because the people in your lane are rubbernecking. So know that as well, and you can pick that up and you can predict other road users' actions because of what's going on in the other lane. So pay attention to all of that when you're driving. Okay? There we go. Okay. All right. Okay, Boston. Here we go. We answered that question. Jibber jabber, when making turns, is it okay to do hand over hand or shuffle in Calgary? Jibber jabber in Calgary, it's probably hand over hand. That's a question that you want to ask a local driving school. And again, jibber jabber, I want to thank you for reminding me of this. Last week we talked about mock road tests, and I realized that a lot of drivers who are going for a road test didn't know what I meant by a mock road test. And what I mean by a mock road test, 2 to 3 weeks before your road test, go to a driving school and book a mock road test. Tell them you want to go out and have a driving instructor assess your driving abilities for the purposes of passing a road test. It's a practice driving test done by a driving instructor. Know that driving instructors teach people how to pass a road test every day. This is their job. This is what they do. So for $50, $100, you can go and get a practice driving test by a driving instructor, and they will identify any gaps or weaknesses in your driving ability and skills and information that you have that potentially could cause you to fail a road test. So for a few dollars, go and hire a driving school and get them to do a practice driving test, okay? And jibber jabber, that information about hand over hand, which it probably is in Calgary, the driving instructor will be able to give you that information, okay? That specific information, because I don't have that specific information. Most places are in the world are hand over hand. However, some places are hand to hand. So you want to get that information before you go for your road test, okay? Okay, Jaron S. Okay, tell the right of way in an intersection. All right, so the general rules, Jaron, if you're at a two-way stop sign, it's usually straight through traffic has the right of way over turning traffic, and right-hand turning vehicles have the right of way over left-hand turning vehicles, and that's at two-way stop signs. And there's a video here on basic right of way, which Corey will get up for you as well. There's a video on two-way stops, there's a video on yield signs, and there's a video on four-way stops, and you want to look at all those videos, okay? And there's a playlist on left turns, and there's a playlist on right turns, and those will give you the information about right of way at intersections. So know all of that, okay? And just here, while we're in the middle of the video, if you like the information that you're seeing here, consider giving it a thumbs up as well. Leave a comment, and if you're watching on the replay, if you like the information here on the channel, consider subscribing to the channel. So thanks very much. All right, let's see what else we got. There we go. Northeast, who comes first and what to do. There we go. Okay, that's all good. Northeast, that's what I do when I'm cycling. That's great. Unfortunately, that's not going to help them on a road test because you can't wave people through on a road test. Okay, King. I have trouble knowing how close my car is to a parked car on my right side. I usually end up overestimating when pulling up next to a car to parallel park, causing a wider gap. So King, what I suggest to you, and Corey will put this video up for you, on learning to drive. And what I suggest to you is to go out and get some of those 36-inch, 1 meter tall pylons, and you just need 4 of them. And then what I suggest to you is drive up along those on the right side and try and get as close to those pylons as you can, and then back up, same thing. And that way, that's going to give you a better sense of how close you are to the pylons and how close you are to other vehicles when you're learning how to drive and you're learning how to park. Because if you hit the pylon, it's not a big deal, right? But if you hit a car, it's going to be a big deal as well. It's going to affect when you're trying to parallel park how close or how far away from the curb you're going to be. So have a look at all of that as well. Okay. Thank you, Northeast. Okay, Jibber Jabber, the random guy. Why are driving schools so expensive? Okay, random guy, where are you in the world? And thank you, random guy, for pointing that out, because that was the other thing that I wanted to say was that Sam's not here tonight, but Sam is with Rookie Auto Driving School in the Bronx in New York, and for a practice driving test, they only charge, I think he said it was $20. Maybe Corey can clarify that for me, but I think it was $20 for a practice driving test at Rookie Auto Driving School there in the Bronx. And for $20, oh my God, please go and do a practice driving test, because that way you're going to know for sure whether you're ready for driving test. Okay, so random guy, you're in Canada. Yes, it is a bit expensive, unfortunately, here in Canada. Usually they run about $100, $120 for 90 minutes. And the reason it's expensive because, unfortunately, cars are expensive and people want to get paid as well and make some money on this, right? So, and the other thing that you're paying for, random guy, in terms of driving lessons from a driving school, you're also, there's overhead in terms of running the company. And the other thing that is costly is the fact that these driving instructors don't work a solid 8 hours, right? You get a 45-minute driving lesson, and then there's 15 minutes of them driving from one client to the next client. So somehow that it's factored into the hourly wage that you're going to pay. So I know that it seems expensive, but you got to remember all the costs associated with running a driving school: the cost of the car, the cost of maintaining the car, the cost of putting fuel in the car, the cost of paying a driving instructor, licenses, overhead, you know, the downtime, because in an 8-hour day from driving from client to client, you know, there's probably another hour and a half in the day that the school is not making money because they're not giving driving lessons. So this is some of the reasons why it's so expensive. Whereas in the Bronx, where Sam is teaching with Rookie Auto Driving School, it's a much denser population, so there's a lot less places. There's less travel time to get from client to client, okay? Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Corey. Yeah, it was no more than $30. I think it was about $20. It was just a real steal. Okay. Jaron, is it easy to parallel park in a CRV Honda for beginners? Yes, it is. That is a great vehicle to be doing that, because I have a CRV, Jaron, and you can watch the videos. And there's actually, Jaron, there is a playlist on parallel parking, and have a look at that. There is parallel parking between cones, and I would suggest that you start with cones and then go out and work on the roadway and have a look at parallel parking between two vehicles. There's going to be different reference points, and it's going to take a little bit of practice for you in order to be able to do all of that, but you know, you're going to figure it out. It's going to be great. Okay, bro, I'm doing my Class 1 driver's license this week in QC. Any tips? Okay, so, bro, you're doing it in Quebec, so you've already done your air brakes, I suspect, if you're going driver's license. Are you? So, I'm assuming, bro, I'm just going to assuming that this is, in fact, your practical Class 1 license that you're going for. In other words, you're going for your driving on-road test. Dave, hey there, how are you? Okay, Northeast, I don't even know how much the tests here costs. I'm taking my first test in a few months. Northeast, yeah, so Northeast, you'll be with the DMV. I don't think that your costs are very much in terms of the DMV. Just clarify this for 1 minute. Who asked me this question? Jibber Jabber. What Jibber Jabber was asking me was driving instruction. So going to a driving school and getting lessons from driving school. King, you're most welcome. Achilles 1, I failed my Class 5 for going 45 and a 50 limit and 55 and a 60. That's what my instructor told me to do, and now I failed for driving too slow. What's the proper speed? Thanks. Achilles, you want to try and do as close to the posted speed limit as possible, and that's going to take a bit of practice. Yeah, if you were consistently driving 5 kilometers an hour below the limit for the entire test, a driving examiner is not going to look favorably on that, because it demonstrates that you're driving. When you're doing the speed limit, you're already below the flow of traffic. You're already holding up traffic. So if you're doing another 5 kilometers less than what you would be doing as the posted speed limit, yeah, it's definitely going to be not favorable in terms of a driving examiner looking at that for you. There you go. So Michael's in Michigan, and he paid $60 for his road test, and that's about what it is up here in Canada as well. Okay, let's see, who else? Okay, somewhere between D, thank you for your videos, you really helped me, but I have a question on turns. Every time I take my turns, I somehow end up going on the other's lane too much when I make my turns. Any tips? Yes, D, what I suggest to you is, Corey's put up the video here on how to learn to drive. Go and get some of those 36-inch, 1 meter tall pylons. Go in the parking lot and work on working the steering wheel and working the primary controls of the vehicle. And basically what you want to do is you want to do zigzags in and out of the cones. You want to drive around in circles. You want to back up. You want to do forward figure eights. You want to do reverse figure eights. And you want to back up around corners and those types of things. Sometimes it's good to go back and revisit the fundamentals. If you go back and revisit the fundamentals, that's going to improve your overall driving and give you greater mastery of the primary controls of the vehicle. The throttle, the brake, and the steering wheel. And this is what you need to do to improve that wide turns. Dave, yes, there were no videos for last week. I am working on I'm working on refocusing here on the channel. So that's what happened last week, and that's why I didn't get any videos. Okay, D, where are you that it's only $6 for a road test? That's a real steal. Okay, you were hoping for more video semi-truck videos. Okay, so Dave, I've got one in the basket here. And Dave, the other thing that happened last week, you missed the beginning of the live stream here, but my iMac crashed and died yet again. So I was trying to get my old laptop working and trying to get Final Cut Pro up and those types of things. So in terms of my computer being down, it's been inconvenient to say the least. And you probably noticed that the quality of the video isn't as high as it normally is, and that's why. And on the note of my Mac, this is why I buy Mac. I bought my first Mac in 06. I bought my second Mac in 11, and I've recently bought a new one. And I bought an iMac last fall in October. I started using it in November, and in the last 6 months, that computer has crashed 3 times. And I called up Mac and I said, listen, I'm done. I don't want this computer. I want to send it back. And one of the things with Mac that I'll say to you is that you got to get through to the right department with Apple. And I finally got through to the right department. I got through to customer relations, and I said, listen, I don't want this computer, because last week it actually had to go to the shop to be fixed. So I took it to the shop. I called Apple. I talked to a couple of people. They finally put me through to the customer relations department, and I said, listen, I don't want this computer back. I don't trust it. I don't want it, and it is costing me incredible amounts of time and work time, and it's down again. And I said, listen, I want to send this computer back. If you give me the money back on cost, I'll buy the iMac Pro. And the iMac Pro is a considerably more expensive computer. And in fact, I've made the decision that I'm going to go forward on that. So that's what happened last week. That was the ordeal with my computer last week. So I'm gonna move forward on that. I'm gonna send the old computer back. They're gonna give me the discount or the refund on that computer, and then I'm gonna buy the iMac Pro. And if you look up the iMac Pro, you'll know how skookum that computer is. So we're hoping that this is all gonna work forward. So yes, Dave, they did look after me. Okay, and this is why I buy Mac, and this is why I consider myself an ambassador of Apple. That I really do like their equipment. And as you can see tonight, I mean, the stream is not great, but it's working. And this is my 2011 MacBook Pro that I'm working on here. So that tells you how everything's going. Y3R, hi there, how are you? Excellent. Okay, so let's get back to answering some questions here. Yes, Dave, and I have one in the can here on semi-trucks. I have one on a left-hand turn, so I'll get that up for you. Okay. Jaron, yes, that should work for you. The same techniques that I have in the videos, all of that should work for you in terms of parallel parking your CRV. Should all work, okay? And what I suggest, Jaron, before you start trying to parallel park, have a look at the Learn to Drive video, and that'll get you going in terms of the CRV and get you working in terms of, you know, mastering the primary controls, the steering wheel, the clutch, the throttle, and learning where the blind spots are around your vehicle, and that'll help you out, okay? Rutvik, whenever I try to park, I either turn too early or too late. Any tips on when to know exactly when to start turning to stay between the lanes? Okay, Rutvik, what kind of parking are you talking about? Are you talking reverse stall parking? Or are you talking parallel parking? Just let me know which one you're doing there. D, I passed my road test the first time a couple of days, but yeah, that's my problem. I got into the other one too much, and I think it's because I'm not turning wheel enough. Yeah, and that's probably what it is, D, is that you're not turning the wheel enough. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay, it's only $6 in Florida, guys. Man, that sucks paying $60 in Canada. Whoa, yeah. Yeah, it's quite a bit more expensive here, D, for sure. Okay, Liam. And you passed your road test on Friday. Thanks for your video. Strangely, there was not one stop sign that I passed through, but multiple uncontrolled intersections. Kind of took me aback. Yeah, and one of the other things, Liam, and that's a good point, is just to say to other smart drivers who might be watching this on the replay or those who are in attendance, go and practice in the area in and around the driving center where you're going to be taking your test, and that will give you information about what you're going to be up against in terms of controlled and uncontrolled intersections and types of intersections you're going to encounter on your road test. D, yeah. So that gives you some idea, D, there, that it varies widely from state to state and from province to province and other places in the world about the costs of the actual road test, that it can be very different in different places. Arthur, I just passed my endorsement test for trailer and hazmat. Thanks for the great videos. They've helped me with all my CDL training. Oh, that's really great news. Thanks so much, Arthur, for letting us know. And we're really happy that we could help out, and you're really doing well in terms of your endorsements. You got your hazmat, you got your tanker. Arthur, have you got your air brakes as well yet? Just let me know there in the comments. And Dave, when you're parking in a parking space, how do you tell how far from the curb are you and how close are you? Okay, Dave, that's in terms of how close you are and how close you are to other vehicles. And this was something I was telling students last week. And this is certainly something that I tell CDL drivers and I tell passenger vehicles as well. Sometimes you just got to get out and look, right? You're going to park the vehicle, and if you're not sure how far you are from the curb or how far you are from other vehicles and those types of things, simply stop the vehicle, apply the parking brake, secure the vehicle, and get out of the vehicle and have a look. And that way you're going to become more familiar with the blind areas around your vehicle and how close you are to other fixed objects and curbs and those types of things, okay? So sometimes you just got to get out and look. And again, I advocate to all new drivers and all learning drivers, look at that Learn to Drive video, go and get some of those 36-inch 1 meter tall pylons and practice in a parking lot. All of that fundamental driving, learning mastery of the primary controls of the vehicle, all of that is going to make you a better driver overall, and it's going to improve your overall driving. Tommy, all good. Bobo, how do you know when to pump brakes versus ABS versus threshold braking? Great question, Bobo. And in this day and age, most vehicles, and I'm saying 99% of vehicles, are all going to have ABS brakes, and you do not pump the brakes. Do not use threshold braking. Threshold braking is for standard brakes, and very few vehicles that you're going to get into in this day and age, buses, trucks, trailers, cars and whatnot, they're all going to have ABS brakes. And the way that you know that you have ABS brakes on the vehicle, turn the key to the on position, not start, just turn it to the on position. Look at the dash lights. The ABS light, which is orange, will come on momentarily and then it will go out. And that means that the ABS is working normally. And Corey will put up the video here on ABS brakes. For the purposes of ABS brakes, you push down on the brake pedal and hold hard. And if you've never experienced ABS brakes and what they do, pushback, shutter, grinding is all normal. The first time you do it on ABS vehicle, engage the brakes and hold hard and keep pressure on, steer in the direction you want to go. It's going to feel like the vehicle's coming apart or you're launching the space shuttle. And all of that is normal on ABS brakes. And that's a really good question in terms of what to do in terms of ABS brakes and threshold braking. And as I said, threshold braking was left over from standard brakes, which very few vehicles have now. Threshold braking is when you apply the brakes almost to the point of lockup. Just at lockup, you release the brakes, you assess the situation again, and you reapply the brakes. That's called threshold braking. We don't pump brakes, especially on an air brake equipped vehicle. For CDL drivers, not pump the brakes on CDL machines. Okay. Obnoxious, I have a question. Do you have any driving advice for people with Asperger's or people on autism spectrum? Yes, I do, Obnoxious. One of the things you need to do in terms of going and learning how to drive, if you have a disability such as those two that you mentioned there, get an assessment from your medical doctor, and then your medical doctor can refer you on to a specialist. And in most states and most provinces, there are specialty organizations where you go and work at this center, oftentimes with a driving instructor in combination with an occupational therapist. And those two people will do specialized training to determine if you are fit to go and learn how to drive and get a license. And I also failed to mention that Jen, who I did a video with, and I'm going to get the video up here very shortly for you, Jen, who has 2100 vision, and for those of you who don't know what 2100 is, most of us who have 20/20 vision, we see a certain standard at 20 feet. For Jen, for what we would see with normal vision at 100 feet, Jen had to be 20 feet away. Well, Jen got her license last week, and really like to thank Jen for sharing her information and helping other people out and sharing with us that she in fact got her license. Really, really stoked about that, and we're going to get that video up for you about Jen's success. All right, so Arthur, yes, you got your air brakes. Congratulations. That's probably the toughest part of your endorsements. That's really great. And Dave, can you do that during a road test? Step out of the car and see how far you are from the curb. No, not on a road test, Dave. You don't want to get out of the car to have a look. But while you're learning, definitely get out and have a look, and that's going to help you learn where your vehicle is in space and place in relation to fixed objects and to the curb. Deco, is there good paying jobs in the oil fields for truckers looking to move to Alberta? Yes, Deco, there are good paying jobs in Alberta in the oil fields, and all of that is beginning to pick up again if you do in fact have a CDL license. So go back and do that and get a job in the oil fields. And have a look at the videos here with Bill Walker. I've interviewed him when he started his career. I trained Bill. He went up, as I said, he finished his driving school on a Thursday, and the next Tuesday he was working in the there are jobs up there. And do your networking, talk to other people, talk to as many people as you can, and there are good paying jobs up there. And Bill is always available to talk to people, and you can get a hold of him on his Facebook, and he'd be more happy to answer any questions you might have. Bill's really great that way. All right, so Corey, random guy. Random guys, do driving instructors use their own cars for driving school? Some do, random guy, and others don't. So some driving schools will have their own vehicles that driving instructors just simply use. Other driving schools, the driving instructor will contract his or her vehicle to the school. They'll get paid that way. Obnoxious, it depends on city and state, I do believe. Okay. Yeah, so okay, obnoxious. Okay, Bobo, cool, thanks so much. You are most welcome. Susie, you are the best at explaining everything that involves driving. Your videos have helped me so much. Thank you, Susie. You are most welcome, and thank you for the compliment. That's really, really great. And I'm glad that we can help you out in being successful on getting your license. Okay, Tommy, I have a very small stone chip on my driver's side, A-pillar of my car. The paint on my car is black. Do you have any tips for dealing with that? Just curious. Okay, Tommy, you have a stone chip on the paint on the body of the vehicle. Is that correct? Not a stone chip on the windshield. Okay, so it's a stone chip on the body. Just clarify that for me, because I do have a tip for you. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, I did talk to you about hazard perception there a little bit, and about some of the observations I've had and some of the things that I'm working on, because I want to try and start writing some of this down. I want to create a book for you. And this is the other thing is that smart drivers who are watching tonight, and smart drivers who will be coming and watching this on the replay, if you could leave comments for me down in the comment section about some of the things you would like to see in a book that I'm going to put together for you on how to pass a road test. And I'm going to offer that on my website. I don't know whether it'll be paid yet or whether it'll be something that I offer as a free ebook. But what would you like to see in the book? What would be some of the information that would help you out to be successful and to move forward in terms of driving and learning how to drive for the purposes of passing a road test? That would be really great if you could help me out with that. Okay, so the paint chip. Yes, okay, so there we go. Body of the car. So Tommy, what you do, did you tell me what kind of car you had? Whatever kind of car you have, you can either go to the dealer. So if you have a Honda, you can go to a dealer, a Honda dealer, or you can go to a body shop, and they will give you paint, okay, actual paint for your car. And actually, I had a body person, a panel beater. They call them panel beaters in Australia, which I kind of like that name, but it's people who fix cars' bodies, right? And you just get a small little paintbrush, and you get a little bit of that paint. You don't need very much of it. And basically, you just dab it in, and then you just dab it just a little bit on the stone chip, and that will fix it. The other thing you can do, Tommy, barring that, is that you can go to car part stores. Like here in Canada, we have Lordco and Napa and places like that. They will actually have stone chip pens. And it's a pen you can buy. I think they're $10 or $15. I'm not sure what the price is. Maybe one of the other smart drivers will know the prices on those. And it's just a pen. You take the cap off, you dab it into the stone chip, fixed. It's very simple to do. Okay? Liam, are there any driving schools that offer more advanced lessons after passing the test, like highway driving in snow? I'm in the downtown New York region. Yes, Liam, there are driving schools that are more than willing to offer defensive driving courses, winter driving courses, advanced driving courses. All of that is available. Okay. Okay, what are we talking about? Dave, keeping in mind you only get $7 per share to actually keep and maintaining about gassing up your car. Okay, oh, this was the Uber question. Can you really profit on being a Uber driver? Dave, I'm not sure about that, but the reports are more in the negative than in the positive for those kinds of, for working for Uber. Okay, so there you go. Okay, Tommy, black 2016 Ford Focus. Yes, okay, so titanium. Yes, so Tommy, if you have a Ford 2016 Ford Focus, you should just be able to go down and get a paint pen for that and then just dip the chip. Christian, hi there. How are you tonight? It's awesome Sunday night here. M. Fink, I have a question on a roundabout that I need to go to the left. Do I need to turn the right signal on or just the left? Okay, so M. Fink, what you need to do as you're entering the roundabout, signal to the left, and when you're in the roundabout, when you're going to exit the roundabout, signal to the right. So when you're coming up to the roundabout, you treat it like a conventional intersection, but when you're going to exit the roundabout, signal to the right just before the exit to indicate to other traffic in the roundabout that you're going to exit the roundabout. So that's the way you deal with that. And as well, Think, have a look at the video on roundabouts here. That'll help you out with that. Deco, suggestion for the book. What kind of temperament is needed to be a good truck driver? What should we expect about a career in trucking? Work-life balance, salary, advancement, self-employment. And that is excellent advice, Deco. Thank you so much for that. And I will definitely have it come back to this when I'm working on that book about a career in life as a CDL driver, because all of that is really good information. That is so. Okay, so Tommy, there we go. All right, what are winter tires? Dave, what are winter tires? What, you don't have winter where you are, Dave? I'll talk about that in a little bit here, Dave. I just want to tell you about the car. Okay, so the buggy, my Honda, my black Honda CRV, broke down again last week for a couple of times. And then, so what happened is that back in March, I had the exhaust replaced on it, the entire exhaust system. So the catalytic converter, the resonator, and the exhaust pipe, pretty much between the engine and the muffler. And I went to Victoria last week and I had an check engine light on, and it wasn't running right. Obviously, it wasn't running well at all. So let's actually go back farther. The vehicle was stalling and leaving me on the side of the road. So what we determined is that the distributor was bad. So I had to replace the distributor. So all the electronics had been replaced. And just a funny story about the distributor is that the car would stall on the side of the road. It would sit there for 5 minutes and cool down, and then it would start again. And then it would stop running after 5 or 10 minutes. What happened is that there's a break in the wire somewhere, and when the vehicle heats up, the wires expand and separate, and then when it cools down, the wires cool and come back together. They contract. And so we determined that it was the distributor. So I took it in the mechanic, and the mechanic said, oh, I left it sitting there running for 6 hours and it didn't stall. And I said, well, it won't stall when it's idling. You got to work it. You got to drive it up the hill. And he said, well, I don't want to get left on the side of the road. So I said, okay, well, I'll come in and I'll drive it and I'll see what I can do. So he said, okay, I'll set up the test equipment. And I thought, okay, this is going to be, expansive test equipment with scanners and those types of things. So I go in, and it wasn't expansive test equipment at all. What it was he had a pin through one of the wires off the distributor, and he had a light bulb hooked up to it. And then he had a long wire black tape to a spark plug. And he says to me, he says, okay, he says, you drive it when it stalls. He says, you open the hood, you look to see whether the light's on. If the light's on, you have power to the distributor. He said, if you got power to the distributor, then what you do is you take the spark plug wire off, stick this wire into the spark plug wire, and you put the spark plug, you come around the hood into the cab of the vehicle, into the cabin, and put the spark plug onto the spark plug lighter. And he says, if you got spark, then it's fuel. He says, if you don't have spark, then we know it's the distributor. So I went out and did this and hooked all this up, and we figured out it was the distributor. So long story short, we got the distributor changed, and then the catalytic converter went. We couldn't figure out why the catalytic converter was gone. They replaced it under warranty because it was like full of junk and whatnot. But the buggy still wasn't running right. And so I talked to my brother, who's a very gifted mechanic, and he said, you know, they didn't do all of these things. They didn't check the O2 sensor. They didn't check the mass airflow sensor. They didn't check the barometer readings in the engine and all kinds of things. And I was just like kind of, you know, overload in my head in terms of what I need to know in terms of being a mechanic and whatnot. But anyway, the bottom line is that we'd fixed everything on the electronics side of the engine, new spark plugs, new wires, and those types of things. Then we determined that we needed to go at the fuel system. So they said to me, okay, change the fuel, put in some fuel injector cleaner. And so I did that. I changed the fuel filter, and the car is running more or less bing bang. So when your vehicle is not running right, check the simple things first. Check the air filter and check the fuel filter and see when the last time those have been replaced, because those are plugged up, your vehicle's not going to run properly. So check the simple things first when you're going looking at for your vehicle. So that was the other story I wanted to tell you about that. All right, let's see. Emiliano, thanks for your help. You're most welcome. Not winter ones. Okay, so Dave, it depends how much snow you get in the wintertime, how cold it is, and those types of things. Sometimes you do want to use winter tires, but as well, you can get all-season tires that are also M&S rated or have the snowflake on them, and they will serve as winter tires as well. Epic 112, excellent tips, Ricks. I didn't see this hazard happen. Is that a Ford Taurus blocked my way going straight on Route 57 East in Uniontown? Okay. Okay, Epic, I'm not sure what you're asking me there in terms of that, but you had your way blocked. So what I suggest, if you can't see because there's an obstruction in front of you, then simply back off so you have more space and you can see around the vehicle in front of you. Okay. Yes, Liam, you're correct. You're going to lose points for hitting the curb for sure. Yes, because being too far from the curb, you're only going to lose a couple of points. You're not going to fail your road test. JFSA 380, for semi-trucks, can there be a presentation on long combinations, doubles, triples, doubles, 53, B-trains, and the like, off-tracking, handling, winds, and such? I can see what I can do on that JFSA 380. I'll give that some thought and think what I can come up with for you, okay? Christian, would you please tell us a full route map of long-haul truck driver career? Full route map. Christian, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking me there. Could you rephrase that question, please? Okay. JFSA 380. So somebody was experiencing brake fade after they passed by the road test. All right. Yeah, doing a bit of parenting there. Okay, JFSA, if you have brake fade going down a hill and you haven't done something prior to the brake fade, it's not likely you're going to recover from that. Unfortunately, there are people who have died in those types of things. So you need to have all your ducks in a row before you start going down the hill, okay? And you need to stop at the brake check, and you need to make sure that your brakes are working and that you've done a full pre-trip on your vehicle before you start going down over the hill. Nick, I practice most of my parallel parking with a station wagon and will be taking the road test in a regular sedan. I'm a little worried how I will parallel park. Nick, how much practice can you get in the sedan before you go for your road test? Just let me know that. Liam, I didn't do well on the parking and still passed with points to spare. You should practice as much as possible, but it's not the end of the world. Yes, that's a good point. And Liam, the point that I want to make and follow up with that and add to that information that you gave there is really good. You're not going for perfect on your road test. You're going for pass, because nobody cares what your score is on your road test. So do the best you can, pass your road test, and don't stop and don't give up and don't get flustered. If you make a mistake, just keep going, because the driving examiner may not see what you did wrong. So just keep going, just keep moving forward, keep driving the vehicle until the driving examiner tells you to stop. Otherwise, just keep going. Okay, Bobo, with brake failure, do you use ABS or just use the handbrake and let it naturally decelerate? Okay, Bobo, it depends on what kind of brake failure you have. Now, I think what you're saying in terms of brake failure is you're talking about the brakes actually failing. And in this day and age, on both passenger vehicles and CDL vehicles, it is unlikely that the brakes are going to fail. And the reason for that is because since the late 1960s and into the 1970s, all braking systems are divided into a secondary and primary system. So therefore, if one system fails, the other system will continue to work normally. And in most vehicles, it's everything behind the driver and everything in front of the driver. So everything in front of the driver is the secondary system. Everything behind the driver is the primary system. One system fails, the other will continue to work normally, and you can bring the vehicle to a stop. If you lose power to the braking system, so on a passenger vehicle, it'll be hydraulic brakes, or you've lost the hydraulic fluid, you can mechanically apply the brakes with the handbrake, and it's called a handbrake or a parking brake, and you can use that with your hand or your foot if it's one of the ratchet ones on the floor, and you can apply the brakes on the vehicle. So you're never going to completely lose the brakes on your vehicle. Even in an air brake equipped vehicle, it's divided into secondary and primary system. You're never going to lose all of the braking power on the vehicle. Now, what we were talking about before about going down the hill is you're going to experience, if you overuse the brakes on a hill, you're potentially going to experience brake fade. And if you experience brake fade, what happens is on the old disc brakes, there's a shoe inside of a drum or a hub, and the shoe pushes out against the drum or the hub, causing it to slow. What happens if you overheat that drum expands and it expands away from the shoes, and the shoes will no longer come in contact. That's called brake fade. If you experience brake fade, it's the only failing left of any braking system, and if that happens, then in fact you've lost your brakes and you can't recover from that. Okay? All right, Christian, how do you start to be a long-haul truck driver? So Christian, what you need to do is, first of all, you need to go and get a CDL license, and then you need to try and get as much practice as you can. Whatever job you can get driving a vehicle, whether it's driving a bus, it's driving a dump truck, driving a 5-ton, get some experience somehow driving a vehicle. Oftentimes, because long-haul truck driving has such a they have difficulty getting drivers because a lot of people don't want to do long-haul truck driving. It's easier to get a job as a long-haul truck driver, and it's a matter of just talking to as many people, networking, talking to as many trucking companies as you can, getting a job and getting much experience as you can. Okay, so what you need to do is you just need to network. You need to be very tenacious, and what I tell people, especially students at driving schools, truck driving schools, start looking for a job as soon as you start truck driving school. Don't wait until you get your license. Start calling, start talking to people even before you get your license. Because the sooner you start talking to people, they're going to say, listen, we don't have anything right now. Okay, can I call you back in a couple of weeks? Yes, please. And then ask them, say, listen, do you know anybody else who might be hiring CDL drivers? Because you have to know that all of these companies and managers and dispatchers and people who are working at a trucking company, they know all the people at the other trucking companies, so ask that as well, okay? Epic, you are most welcome. Bricks for Wheels, what is the meaning of inadequate parallel parking? There you go. Yeah, that's a good question, Corey. What is inadequate parallel parking? Oh, VAS 90. Yes, Jake brakes can always be turned on. And for those of you who don't know, all large commercial vehicles are going to have some sort of auxiliary braking. So they're either going to have an engine brake, they're going to have an exhaust brake, or they're going to have an electric or hydraulic driveline retarder. Electric and hydraulic driveline retarders tend to be more common in Europe. Here in Canada, most of what we have is either an exhaust retarder or we have a Jake brake, which is an engine retarder. And essentially with an exhaust brake or an engine brake, it essentially shuts off the exhaust ports in the engine and puts back pressure on the engine, creating drag going down the hill. And that's a good point what VAS 90 made there about Jake brakes. In this day and age, if you get in the right gear coming over the top of the hill and you've got the Jake brake on, so say for example you're running tandem, most trucks are going to run around 80,000 pounds. And if you're running around 80,000 pounds, fifth gear, Jake brake on full. If it's a slope, a grade less than 10%, and you're going to be fine going down the brake. And in this day and age with engine brake technology, it's going to hold the truck back or the vehicle back, and you're not going to have to use the service brakes. Okay? Dave. In driver's ed, why do they try to scare you from driving? Dave, I I don't know why some driving instructors do that. It really should be about empowerment. And of course, unfortunately, the thing about teaching is that there's two styles of teaching. One is empowerment and the other one is power over. Some people just are not good at making you feel confident and giving you the information, skills, and abilities that you need in order to be confident in whatever you're learning. And I think some people, unfortunately, forget how difficult it is to learn and don't build in time for people to learn. Okay? All right. What is the best thing to do if you find yourself almost dozing on a long car trip? Liam, get off the road. Get off the road, go for a walk, drink some coffee, have something to eat, have a little nap if you need to. If you're finding yourself dozy, don't try and roll down the windows. Don't try and keep going. Get off the road, have a break, get a little bit of sleep if you can. And if it's nighttime, get into a hotel room and get some sleep and whatnot. Okay, Dave, how big is a semi engine compared to an SUV engine? Okay. The thing, Dave, that you're talking about, you're kind of comparing apples and oranges in terms of a gasoline engine versus a diesel engine. Gasoline engines are about horsepower. They're about making the vehicle go faster. Diesel engines are about torque. They're about pulling a load, and they're about horsepower in terms of torque and moving the vehicle forward. So most diesel engines are going to be more about being able to pull freight over a long distance, and that's why. Okay, so it's tough to compare those two things because you're kind of comparing apples and oranges. Okay, Nick, I did not skip your question on purpose. It's a little bit different here on this side of the computer. What's happening is that all the comments are kind of scrolling by, and so thanks for reminding me for that, because I didn't skip it on purpose. I'm going to answer your question. Is that, as I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, the comments are kind of scrolling by here, and there's a lot going on. I'm kind of multitasking back here, so I'll scroll back here and see if I can find your question. There we go. Nick, are points usually taken off for hitting the curb? How many adjustments are you allowed to make without losing points? Okay, so Nick, usually what's happened, if you are parallel parking and you need to make an adjustment, you're usually allowed one pull-up to correct. Now, this is going to vary from place to place, and this is kind of general information. So you're allowed one pull-up and you're not going to lose any points. However, if you pull up 2 or 3 times, you're going to start losing points, and I think if you pull up more than 2 or 3, it could just be an automatic fail, because remember, for the purposes of a road test, you're demonstrating to the examiner that you have due care and control of the vehicle. And if it takes you more than 2 or 3 times to back into the space, then it demonstrates to the examiner you don't have due care and control. So it's better to be a little bit farther from the curb, as some people have mentioned here previously, than it is to be too close. Okay, so know that as well. All right. There we go. Okay, so Corey's got the driver's manual, and that's a good thing that Corey put up there as well. Look at the driving manual in your district, in your state, or in your province, or wherever you are in the world. That will give you specific information about the rules of parallel parking. And again, go and do a practice driving test at a local driving school, and they'll be able to give you that specific information. All phase, hi there. You're here right at the end of the of the live feed. Okay, so I think we're gonna leave it there for tonight. Yeah, lucky. Yes, indeed. The engine itself is half the size of the entire SUV. Okay, James, do you have to take another driving test? We're moving up from a Class B. Up from a Class B to a Class 1, is that what you're asking me, James? Nick, you're most welcome. Not a problem at all. Anything we can do to help, and as well, leave us a comment and send us an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com. I'm more than happy to help you out and do whatever we can. Michael, thank you so much. And for those of you watching on the replay, hit the thumbs up button. For those of you who haven't hit the thumbs up button already, please hit that thumbs up. And leave a comment down in the comment section. If you like what you see here on the channel, consider subscribing. More than happy to do that. James, Clutch Play, have a good night. Hall Phase, what time do you end your stream? We're wrapping up right now, Hall Phase. Do you have a quick question? If you do, I'll be more than happy to answer that for you. Okay, CDL. So thank you everybody who showed up tonight. Thank you for sharing time with us, and more than happy to help you out with any questions that you have. Congratulations to everybody who's passed the road test in the last week, And good luck for those of you coming up for the road test the next week or two. And one other thing, happy Mother's Day to everybody. Not the Hallmark kind of Mother's Day, but the real happy Mother's Day for all the great mothers out there doing all the great work. We greatly appreciate what you're doing. Next week here in Canada is a long weekend, so the live stream next week will be on Monday. Okay, so take note of that for next week. Thanks again, everybody. Good luck on your road test. Congratulations to those who passed. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.